Good morning, beloved. Before you rush into the demands of this Tuesday, before you answer the messages, face the responsibilities, or begin carrying the concerns that have been waiting for you, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath, quiet your heart, and remember this simple truth. You do not have to walk into this day alone. This morning we begin with Jesus. There is something powerful about giving God the first moments of your day. Before the world tells you what to fear, what to accomplish, what to chase, and what to worry about, you can allow Jesus to remind your soul who is truly in control. You may not know what this Tuesday will bring, but you can know who will walk beside you through it. Perhaps you woke up carrying a burden you could not explain. Perhaps there is a decision in front of you. Perhaps you are waiting for an answer, a breakthrough, an opportunity, or a blessing that seems to be taking longer than you expected. Maybe your heart is tired from yesterday, and you are wondering how you will find the strength to begin again today. But hear this morning's message clearly. God has not forgotten you. The blessing you are praying for may not arrive in the way you imagined. The door you have been asking God to open may not look like the door you expected. Sometimes God works quietly, behind the scenes, preparing something greater than what our limited vision could see. So today we will not begin with fear. We will begin with faith. We will not begin by counting everything that is wrong. We will begin by remembering everything God has already carried us through. And we will not demand that this day unfold according to our plans. We will place this Tuesday into the hands of Jesus and say, Lord, go before me. There is a sacredness in the first moments of the morning that we sometimes forget. Before the world begins asking something from you, before the phone begins ringing, before responsibilities come knocking at your door, there is a quiet space waiting for you. And in that quiet space, Jesus is already there. You did not have to find him this morning. He was never lost. He was waiting for you to become still enough to remember that he has been beside you all along. There are mornings when you rise with joy in your heart. And there are mornings when you rise carrying yesterday like a heavy coat across your shoulders. Some mornings you wake with confidence, knowing exactly what you intend to do. Other mornings you open your eyes and immediately remember the problem, the unanswered question, the difficult conversation, the bill, the uncertainty, the disappointment, or the dream that still seems far away. But whatever kind of morning this is for you, there is one truth that does not change. You do not have to face it without Jesus. That is why we begin here, not with the trouble, not with the fear, not with everything that could go wrong. We begin with Jesus. Because when you place him first, you remind your heart that circumstances are not your master. Fear is not your master. Yesterday is not your master. Other people's opinions are not your master. God is, and there is a deep peace that comes when the soul remembers who is holding the day. Starting your morning with Jesus does not require a perfect room, a perfect prayer, or a perfect heart. You do not need to dress your thoughts in beautiful words before you approach him. Come as you are. Come tired. Come hopeful. Come confused. Come grateful. Come disappointed. Come with questions. Come with tears. Come with the little piece of faith you have left. Bring it all. Jesus does not ask you to pretend. He asks you to come. Sometimes we believe that we must first become strong before we can pray. But prayer is often where strength begins. You do not pray because you have everything figured out. You pray because you know you do not. You kneel because you understand that there are places in life where human strength reaches its boundary and divine grace begins to carry what you cannot. This morning you may not know what lies ahead, but Jesus does. You may not know which conversation will change your day. He does. You may not know which door will open. He does. You may not know what disappointment is waiting around the corner, or what beautiful surprise may be waiting behind a door you have not yet noticed. He knows. And because he knows, you can breathe. You can release the desperate need to control every detail. You can stop trying to predict every possibility. You can stop rehearsing every worst-case scenario. You can say, Jesus, I give you this day. And sometimes that simple surrender is the beginning of a miracle inside your own heart. There is something powerful about giving God the first portion of your attention. The world will compete for your attention all day long. People will tell you what you should worry about. News will tell you what to fear. Circumstances will tell you that you are behind. Your own thoughts may whisper that you are not enough. But before you listen to all those voices, listen to God. Let His voice become the first voice your heart hears. Let His promises become louder than your anxiety. Let His presence become more real to you than the uncertainty surrounding you. When Jesus becomes the beginning of your morning, you do not necessarily receive a day without challenges. You receive something better, a heart that does not have to be destroyed by those challenges. The mountain may still be there, but you are not climbing it alone. The road may still be difficult, but you are not walking it alone. The answer may still be delayed, but you are not waiting alone. And the door may still be closed, but you are not standing outside it alone. God is with you. Think about how different a day becomes when you know that. You can enter the workplace without allowing every opinion to define you. You can face difficult people without becoming one of them. You can receive unexpected news without immediately surrendering to fear. You can encounter disappointment without believing that disappointment is the end of your story. You can wait without losing hope. You can work without worshiping achievement. You can pursue your dreams without forgetting the one who gave you the ability to dream. Starting with Jesus teaches your heart a holy order. God first, then everything else. And when the order is right, the soul begins to breathe differently. Perhaps you have spent too many mornings waking up and immediately reaching for your phone. Perhaps before you have even taken a full breath, you have entered everybody else's world. You have read messages, looked at problems, compared your life with someone else's life, and allowed the noise of the world to enter your mind before you have allowed peace to enter your spirit. Today can be different. Put the world down for a moment. Sit quietly. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow breath and say, Jesus, thank you for giving me another morning. You may be surprised by what happens when gratitude becomes the first language of your day. You begin to notice what you once overlooked. The simple gift of breath, the possibility of another beginning, the opportunity to make something right, the chance to love someone, the strength to keep going, the mercy that met you before you even knew you needed it. Every morning carries a message. You have been given another chance to walk forward. Yesterday may have wounded you, but yesterday does not own today. Yesterday may have disappointed you, but it does not have permission to dictate what God can do next. You may have made mistakes. You may have taken wrong turns. You may have trusted the wrong person. You may have missed an opportunity. You may have fallen short of your own expectations. But morning has come again, and with morning comes mercy. So do not punish yourself for what God is willing to redeem. Do not spend today's strength fighting yesterday's battle. Give yesterday to Jesus. Give today's uncertainty to Jesus. Give tomorrow to Jesus. And then stand up and walk into this day with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that heaven has not abandoned them. There will be moments today when you forget. You will become busy. You will become frustrated. You may receive an answer you did not want. You may encounter a person who tests your patience. You may begin to worry about something you cannot control. When that happens, return to the beginning. Return to Jesus. A whispered prayer can change the direction of your thoughts. Lord, help me. Lord, guide me. Lord, give me wisdom. Lord, give me peace. Lord, go before me. You do not always need a long prayer. Sometimes 5 sincere words can carry a whole heart. And perhaps the greatest blessing of beginning your morning with Jesus is this. You learn that prayer is not simply something you do when life falls apart. Prayer becomes the place where you live. You begin to walk with God rather than merely visit Him during emergencies. You begin to speak to Him about the little things as well as the great things. You begin to recognize His presence in ordinary moments. And slowly something beautiful happens. Your faith becomes less dependent on what you see. You begin to trust Him when the answer is yes. You trust Him when the answer is no. You trust Him when the answer is not yet. You trust Him when the road is clear. You trust Him when the road bends into uncertainty. That is a deeper kind of faith. That is the faith we need this Tuesday morning. So before you step into this day, pause. Do not rush. Let your soul catch up with your body. Tell Jesus what is on your heart. Tell him what you are afraid of. Tell him what you are hoping for. Tell him what you cannot understand. Tell him about the blessing you have been praying for. Tell him about the door you desperately want opened. Tell him about the person you need strength to forgive. Tell him about the dream you are afraid to pursue. And then become quiet. Because prayer is not only about speaking. Sometimes prayer is also about surrendering enough to listen. This morning, may Jesus go before you. May he steady your steps. May he calm the places in you that have been restless. May he give you wisdom where you have confusion. May he give you courage where you have fear. May he give you patience where you have been waiting. May he give you hope where disappointment has tried to settle. And may you walk through this Tuesday remembering that your life is not an accident, your future is not forgotten, and your story is not finished. You are still here. The morning has arrived. Grace has met you at the door, and Jesus is inviting you to walk with him. So take his hand. Give him the first moments of this day. Give him your plans. Give him your worries. Give him your expectations. Give him your unanswered questions. Then step forward, not because you know exactly what will happen, but because you know who will be with you when it happens. And sometimes, beloved, that is all the courage a soul needs to begin again. There is a kind of peace that does not depend on the weather of your circumstances. It is not the peace that comes only when every bill is paid, every question is answered, every relationship is healed, and every door you want is already open. No, beloved, there is a deeper peace than that. It is a peace that comes when your soul discovers that God is still God, even when your life feels uncertain. This Tuesday morning, before you allow the concerns of the day to take their place inside your heart, invite God's peace in. Make room for it. Breathe deeply and remember that you are here. You survived yesterday. You have been given another morning, and whatever today brings, you do not have to meet it with a trembling heart. You can meet it with God. Sometimes anxiety arrives before our feet even touch the floor. We wake up and the mind starts running. What if this happens? What if that does not happen? What if the money is not enough? What if the conversation goes badly? What if the opportunity disappears? What if the person leaves? What if the answer never comes? The mind can build 1,000 storms before the first cloud has appeared. But Jesus invites us into another way. He invites us to become still, not because there are no problems, but because problems do not deserve to become the ruler of our hearts. There is a difference between knowing that something is difficult and allowing that difficulty to consume you. You can acknowledge the problem without worshiping the problem. You can recognize the storm without becoming the storm. You can say this is hard and still say God is with me. You can admit, I don't know what will happen, and still declare, I know who holds my future. That is where peace begins. Peace begins when you stop demanding that you understand everything before you trust God. There will be things in your life that make no sense for a season. There will be prayers that seem unanswered. There will be doors that close when you were certain they should open. There will be moments when you wonder why God allowed something to happen the way it did. And in those moments, the temptation is to believe that silence means absence. But silence does not mean God has left. A seed grows underground before you ever see green above the soil. The dawn begins to change the darkness before your eyes can recognize the morning. And sometimes God is working in places you cannot yet see. That is why peace requires trust. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot predict every conversation. You cannot guarantee that every plan will succeed. You cannot make every person understand your heart. You cannot prevent every disappointment. But you can choose where you place your trust, and today place it in Jesus. Give him the things you keep carrying from room to room inside your mind. Give him the conversation you keep replaying. Give him the decision you are afraid to make. Give him the future you cannot see. Give him the family member you cannot control. Give him the dream that seems delayed. Give him the fear that has been sitting quietly in your chest. You do not have to carry what you have already surrendered. Sometimes we pray and then pick the worry back up 5 minutes later. We say, Jesus, I give this to you. And then our minds say, but let me worry about it one more time. Beloved, leave it there. If you have placed it in God's hands, do not keep reaching back for it. Let God be God. Your responsibility is faithfulness. His responsibility is the outcome. You can do your part without trying to become God in the process. There is freedom in that. There is rest in that. There is peace in knowing that you can work hard without believing that everything depends entirely upon you. Maybe today you have a responsibility that feels bigger than your strength. Ask God for wisdom. Maybe you have a relationship that feels fragile. Ask God for patience. Maybe you have a financial concern. Ask God for provision and wisdom. Maybe you are standing before a decision. Ask God for direction. Maybe you are simply tired. Ask God for rest. Do not be ashamed to tell Jesus exactly where you are. Prayer is not a performance. It is a relationship. You do not have to impress God with beautiful words. You can simply say, Lord, I need you. And there is no weakness in those words. There is strength. Because the strongest people are not always those who pretend they need nothing. Sometimes the strongest people are those who know when to kneel. There is courage in surrender. There is courage in admitting that you cannot control everything. There is courage in saying, God, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I trust you with tomorrow. And perhaps today you need to hear this. Peace does not mean that you will never feel afraid. You may still feel fear. You may still have questions. Your heart may still race when something unexpected happens. But peace means fear does not have to make your decisions for you. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel uncertainty and still pray. You can feel disappointment and still hope. You can cry and still believe. You can be tired and still have faith. Your emotions do not cancel your faith. They simply remind you that you are human. And Jesus does not ask you to stop being human. He asks you to bring your humanity to Him. Bring Him the tears. Bring Him the trembling hands. Bring Him the restless thoughts. Bring Him the moments when you say, Lord, I don't know how much longer I can do this. He understands. And perhaps the answer will not always come immediately, but His presence can come immediately. Sometimes the miracle is not that the situation changes instantly. Sometimes the miracle is that your heart changes while you are still standing in the same situation. The mountain remains, but your fear becomes smaller. The waiting continues, but your hope becomes stronger. The door remains closed, but you stop believing that your life is over because of it. You begin to understand that God can give you peace before He gives you the answer. And that is a blessing, a powerful blessing. Because if your peace depends entirely on circumstances, then every circumstance has the power to steal it. But when your peace is rooted in Christ, circumstances may shake you without destroying you. The world can change around you while something steady remains within you. That steadiness is precious. Guard it. Do not give everybody access to your peace. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves a place in your heart. Not every delay deserves panic. Not every closed door deserves tears. And not every difficult moment deserves to become a permanent conclusion about your life. Sometimes you simply need to pause and say, Jesus, help me see this through your eyes. Because when you see through fear, everything looks impossible. When you see through faith, possibility begins to return. This morning, let God change the atmosphere inside you. Before you change your schedule, allow Him to change your spirit. Before you make decisions, ask Him for wisdom. Before you answer difficult words, ask Him for gentleness. Before you walk into an uncertain situation, ask Him to walk before you. And when your mind begins racing, come back to your breath. Slow down. Remember God. Remember His faithfulness. Remember the times you thought you would not make it and somehow you did. Remember the doors that opened when you had stopped expecting them. Remember the strength that appeared when you thought you had none left. Remember the people God placed in your path at exactly the right moment. Remember the mornings when you woke up believing that the previous night would never end, and yet morning came. It always comes. Darkness may stay for a while, but it does not get the final word. So let peace enter your heart this morning. Not because you know everything, not because everything is perfect, not because you have guarantees about what will happen, but because Jesus is near. And if Jesus is near, then you have reason to breathe, you have reason to hope, you have reason to continue, you have reason to lift your head. Beloved, do not allow yesterday's pain to become today's identity. Do not allow tomorrow's uncertainty to steal today's peace. You have only this moment, and in this moment God is with you. So breathe, release, trust, pray, then take the next step. You do not need strength for every mile today. Ask God for strength for the next step. When you reach that step, ask for the next one. Grace will meet you there. And perhaps by the end of this Tuesday, you will look back and realize that the thing you feared did not destroy you. Perhaps you will discover that the answer came differently than expected. Perhaps an unexpected blessing will find you. Perhaps nothing dramatic will happen at all, and yet you will notice something beautiful. Your heart was calmer. Your thoughts were steadier. Your spirit was stronger. And you knew, in a way deeper than words, that you were not alone. That is the peace we are asking for this morning. Not merely a peaceful schedule, not merely an easy day, but a peaceful soul. A soul that can stand in uncertainty and still say, Jesus, I trust you. A soul that can face the unknown and still whisper, God, go before me. A soul that can experience disappointment and still declare, my story is not finished. So as this Tuesday begins, invite God's peace into every corner of your heart. Let Him enter the place where fear has been living. Let Him enter the place where disappointment has been sitting. Let Him enter the place where unanswered questions have made themselves comfortable. Open the door and say, Jesus, stay with me today. Then walk forward, not hurried, not defeated, not controlled by fear. Walk forward with peace, because the God who carried you through yesterday is already present in today. And the same God who holds today is already waiting for you in tomorrow. There are seasons in life when the road ahead is clear enough for you to see where your feet should go. You can look forward and recognize the direction. You can make your plans, take your steps, and feel certain about what comes next. And then there are other seasons. Seasons when the road disappears into the distance. Seasons when you pray and do not immediately receive an answer. Seasons when you stand before a closed door and wonder whether you should knock again or turn around. Seasons when you have done what you know to do and still nothing seems to move. Those are the moments when faith becomes more than a word. That is when you learn what it means to trust God with what you cannot see. Because faith is not merely believing when the evidence is already sitting in front of you. Faith is trusting when the picture is incomplete. You may not know what God is doing today, but you can trust that He sees what you cannot see. You see one moment, God sees the whole journey. You see the closed door, God sees what is behind it. You see the delay, God sees the timing. You see the disappointment, God sees what He can build from it. You see the unanswered prayer, God sees every possibility that exists beyond the answer you imagined. That is why you must be careful about declaring that nothing is happening simply because you cannot see anything happening. There are things growing beneath the surface. There are prayers being carried in places you cannot enter. There are circumstances being arranged beyond your understanding. There are lessons being formed inside you while you are waiting for the situation around you to change. And sometimes the greatest work God does begins where human eyes cannot see. Think about a seed. You place it beneath the soil, and then you wait. For days the ground may look exactly the same. You could stand there every morning and see nothing, but beneath the surface something is happening. Roots are forming. Life is preparing itself. The seed does not need to be visible for growth to be real. And perhaps your life is like that today. You may look at your circumstances and think, nothing has changed. But do not confuse invisibility with inactivity. God can be working in places you cannot see. That does not mean every desire will happen exactly as you imagined it. Trusting God does not mean demanding that He follow your schedule or fulfill every expectation according to your plan. It means believing that His wisdom is greater than yours. That can be difficult, because we like certainty. We like knowing. We like having a map. We like guarantees. We want to know when the door will open, how the blessing will arrive, who will bring the answer, and how everything will eventually work out. But sometimes God gives you something different from a map. He gives you enough light for the next step, and you have to take it. You do not need to see the whole staircase to take one step. You do not need to know every chapter to continue reading the story. You do not need to know every detail of tomorrow to be faithful today. This Tuesday morning, perhaps that is your assignment, not to understand everything, just to trust God with the next step. Maybe your next step is making the phone call. Maybe it is forgiving someone. Maybe it is beginning again. Maybe it is resting. Maybe it is applying for the opportunity. Maybe it is letting go of something that has already served its purpose. Maybe it is simply getting out of bed and choosing hope one more time. Whatever that next step is, take it with God. Do not wait until you understand the entire journey. You may spend your whole life waiting for certainty that was never promised. Instead, learn to walk with faith. There is a difference between having control and having confidence. Control says, I must know what will happen. Confidence says, I do not know what will happen, but I know who I can trust. That kind of confidence changes the way you live. It allows you to breathe when answers are delayed. It allows you to remain patient when progress seems slow. It allows you to keep your heart open when disappointment tries to make you bitter. It allows you to continue believing that a closed door is not necessarily a closed future. Sometimes God closes a door because He is protecting you from something you would have begged Him to keep if you could see what was behind it. Sometimes the opportunity you desperately wanted would have taken you away from the very purpose you were praying to discover. Sometimes the person you wanted to keep was never meant to walk the entire journey with you. Sometimes the delay that frustrated you was actually preparing you. You may not understand it today. You may understand it years from now. And there may be some things you never understand completely. That is where trust becomes sacred. You say, God, I may never know why, but I still believe you are good. That is not weakness. That is spiritual maturity. It is easy to praise God when everything is going according to plan. But there is something powerful about praising Him while you are still waiting. There is something courageous about saying, I do not have the answer yet, but I will not surrender my hope. Perhaps you have been waiting for something for a long time. Maybe you have prayed the same prayer so many times that you are beginning to wonder whether God hears you. Beloved, do not mistake waiting for rejection. A delayed answer is not automatically a denied prayer, and silence is not proof of absence. Sometimes the quiet season is where your roots become deeper. You learn patience there. You learn endurance there. You learn to distinguish between what you want and what you truly need. You learn that God's presence is valuable even when His explanation is absent. And perhaps most importantly, you learn that your faith cannot be built entirely upon getting what you want. Faith must also be built upon knowing who God is. If you only trust God when life gives you what you requested, then your trust is attached to an outcome. But when you trust Him even when the outcome is different, your faith becomes anchored in His character. That is a deeper foundation. Today, do not ask only, Lord, will you give me what I want? Ask, Lord, make me ready for whatever you know is best. That prayer requires courage, because it means surrendering your preferred version of the future. It means saying, God, I have a plan, but I am willing to let you have the final word. And perhaps that is where unexpected blessings begin, because sometimes the blessing is not getting what you asked for. Sometimes the blessing is becoming the person who can carry what God is preparing to give you. A greater opportunity may require greater patience. A greater responsibility may require greater wisdom. A deeper relationship with God may require you to release the illusion that you can control everything. A new beginning may require the courage to leave an old chapter behind. So while you are asking God to change your circumstances, allow Him to change you too. Let Him strengthen your character. Let Him deepen your patience. Let Him teach you how to wait without becoming hopeless. Let Him teach you how to receive without becoming proud. Let Him teach you how to lose without believing you are worthless. Let Him teach you how to begin again without being ashamed of the fact that you had to begin again. There is no shame in starting over. A sunrise begins again every morning. The ocean returns to the shore again and again. The heart continues beating after nights when you thought you could not survive the pain. Life knows how to begin again, and so can you. Trust God with what you cannot see. Trust Him with the unanswered question. Trust Him with the unopened door. Trust Him with the dream that has not yet arrived. Trust Him with the relationship you cannot repair by yourself. Trust Him with your future. Trust Him with your family. Trust Him with your finances. Trust Him with your plans. Trust Him with your fears. And perhaps most difficult of all, trust Him with the timeline. Because we often believe God, but we want Him to work on our schedule. We say, Lord, I trust you, but please do it by Friday. We say, I trust you, but I need to know how. We say, I trust you, but I need the answer now. Yet trust becomes real when you can say, Lord, I will keep walking even when I do not know when the answer will come. That does not mean you stop working. It does not mean you stop preparing. It does not mean you stop pursuing what is good. It means you work without panic. You prepare without fear. You move without forcing. You wait without giving up. And you leave room for God to surprise you. This Tuesday there may be something you cannot see yet. A conversation, an opportunity, a connection, a solution, a new idea, a changed heart, a door, a blessing. You do not know, and that is okay. You do not have to know everything to have a beautiful day. You do not have to understand everything to be grateful. You do not have to see the whole road to take the next step. So when uncertainty whispers, what if everything goes wrong? Answer with faith. What if God is already making a way? When fear says you cannot see what is ahead, answer, I do not need to see everything. God sees it. When disappointment says this is the end, answer, God is still writing. And when your heart becomes tired from waiting, whisper one more prayer. Jesus, help me trust you with what I cannot see. Then breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Let your hands open. Release the need to control the outcome. You are not required to know the entire future today. You are only required to be faithful with this moment. So walk into this Tuesday with your eyes looking forward and your heart resting in God. You may not know where the road leads, but you know who walks with you. You may not know when the blessing will arrive, but you know that your life is not forgotten. You may not know why the door remains closed, but you know that God can open the right one at the right time. And if you cannot see the way, keep trusting. If you cannot see the answer, keep praying. If you cannot see the blessing, keep believing. If you cannot see the future, keep walking. Because sometimes faith is simply taking the next step while holding the hand of the one who can see everything you cannot. And this morning, that is enough. Jesus is ahead of you. Grace is beneath you. Hope is within you. And God is still working even in the places your eyes cannot see. There are blessings that arrive exactly as you prayed for them, and then there are blessings that arrive wearing a different face. You ask God for one door, and He opens another. You ask Him to change a circumstance, and He changes your heart. You pray for an opportunity, and He sends a person. You pray for an answer, and He gives you patience. You pray for a way out, and He teaches you how to walk through. And sometimes, beloved, the blessing you have been waiting for is already moving toward you in a form you have not learned to recognize. That is why this Tuesday morning, I want you to open your heart to the possibility of unexpected blessings. Do not tell God how the blessing must arrive. Do not decide in advance what the miracle must look like. Do not close your eyes to the goodness around you because you are waiting for one particular thing. There are blessings in ordinary places. There are blessings in ordinary mornings. There are blessings hidden inside conversations, delays, changes, opportunities, endings, beginnings, and moments that at first seem insignificant. You woke up this morning. That is a blessing. You have another opportunity to choose differently. That is a blessing. You can still pray. That is a blessing. You can still love. You can still learn. You can still begin again. You can still hope. And if you are still breathing, your story still has pages left to be written. Sometimes we become so focused on the blessing we are waiting for that we forget to be grateful for the blessings already standing beside us. We say, God, when will you give me more? But God may be whispering, look at what I have already given you. Look again. Look at the people who genuinely love you. Look at the strength that carried you through yesterday. Look at the lessons that made you wiser. Look at the opportunities you once prayed for and now consider ordinary. Look at the moments when something could have gone terribly wrong, but somehow you were protected. Look at the doors that closed before you walked through them. You may have called some of those things disappointments. Perhaps heaven called them protection. We do not always recognize a blessing while it is happening. Sometimes we recognize it later, sometimes years later. You may look back at a season you once begged God to remove and realize that it taught you endurance. You may remember the person who walked away and realize that their departure created space for healing. You may remember the job you did not receive and realize that another opportunity eventually took you somewhere you could never have imagined. You may remember the relationship that ended and realize that God was teaching you that love should not require you to lose yourself. You may remember the delay that frustrated you and realize that the timing protected you from something you could not see. That is the mystery of God's work. We see the moment. He sees the meaning. We see the interruption. He may see the redirection. We see the ending. He may see the beginning. So today, expect God to surprise you. Not because every hour will be perfect, not because nothing difficult will happen, but because you refuse to believe that God can only bless you in ways you have already imagined. Leave room for wonder. Leave room for grace. Leave room for the unexpected. Perhaps today you will receive a message that lifts your spirit. Perhaps someone will speak a word of encouragement at exactly the moment you need it. Perhaps an opportunity will appear. Perhaps a problem will resolve itself in a way you never expected. Perhaps you will finally understand something that has confused you for months. Perhaps God will give you peace about something He has not yet changed. And do not underestimate that last blessing. Peace is a blessing. Sometimes we ask God to change the world around us, when what we truly need is for Him to strengthen the world within us. We ask Him to remove the storm, and He teaches us how to remain steady while the storm passes. That is not a small miracle. That is a mighty one, because there are things you cannot control. People have their own choices. Circumstances have their own timing. Life contains surprises, but you can choose how you will meet the day. You can meet it with gratitude. You can meet it with faith. You can meet it with an open heart. You can say, Lord, I do not know what today will bring, but I believe you can bring something beautiful from it. That attitude changes everything. Expectation is not entitlement. You are not demanding that God give you everything you want. You are simply refusing to believe that your current circumstances are the full measure of what is possible. There is still room for God to move. There is still room for growth. There is still room for healing. There is still room for new beginnings. There is still room for unexpected blessings. And perhaps one of the greatest blessings God can give you is the ability to recognize them. Because a blessing you cannot recognize can pass right before your eyes while you are looking somewhere else. You may be waiting for a dramatic miracle while missing the quiet miracle of another peaceful morning. You may be waiting for someone else to validate you while God is teaching you how to know your own worth. You may be waiting for a particular door while another door is standing open. You may be waiting for everything to become perfect before you allow yourself to be grateful. But gratitude does not require perfection. Gratitude says, even here I can find something good. Even here, in the waiting, in the uncertainty, in the rebuilding, in the beginning, in the middle. Even here God is present. And if God is present, then there is always reason to hope. Perhaps you have been praying for financial breakthrough. Ask God for provision, but also ask Him for wisdom. Perhaps you have been praying for a new opportunity. Ask Him to open the right door, but also ask Him to give you discernment so that you do not walk through the wrong one simply because it looks attractive. Perhaps you have been praying for healing in a relationship. Ask God to restore what is meant to be restored, but also ask Him to give you courage to accept what needs to change. Perhaps you have been praying for direction. Do not demand that God reveal the entire future. Ask Him to illuminate the next step. Unexpected blessings often require unexpected obedience. God may lead you somewhere you did not plan to go. He may ask you to forgive when you wanted to remain angry. He may ask you to wait when you wanted to rush. He may ask you to release something when you wanted to hold on. He may ask you to begin when you were afraid. and in following him you may discover that the blessing was hidden inside the obedience. That is why you should not judge today's instruction by yesterday's expectations. God may be doing something new, and new things often feel uncomfortable before they feel beautiful. A seed must leave the safety of the fruit before it becomes a tree. A butterfly must leave the place where it once felt secure. A new chapter requires the old page to turn. So if something is changing in your life, do not automatically assume that change means loss. Sometimes change is the doorway. Sometimes discomfort is preparation. Sometimes uncertainty is the beginning of expansion. Sometimes the blessing begins with a sentence you did not want to hear. Sometimes it begins with a door closing. Sometimes it begins with God saying, "Not this." And although "not this" may hurt, it can eventually become the reason you are able to say, "Thank you, Lord, for protecting me." This morning, let your heart become spacious enough for God's surprises. Do not put him inside a box built from your expectations. Do not tell him exactly what your miracle must look like. Simply say, "Lord, I am open to your will. Help me recognize your blessings even when they arrive differently than I imagined." That is a beautiful prayer, because it transforms the way you see. You begin to notice small mercies, a stranger's kindness, a friend's laughter, a peaceful moment, a timely opportunity, a lesson learned, a problem avoided, a strength you did not know you possessed, a second chance, a new idea, a quiet conviction in your heart, a feeling of peace after months of uncertainty. These things matter. Do not call them small simply because they are quiet. Some of the most important blessings make no noise when they arrive. They simply enter your life and begin changing it. And perhaps today's unexpected blessing will be something you never asked for. Maybe it will be courage, maybe patience, maybe wisdom, maybe clarity, maybe the ability to finally let go, maybe the strength to begin again, maybe the peace to stop chasing what God has not called you to chase. Whatever it is, receive it. Do not compare your blessing to someone else's. Your journey is not their journey. Your timing is not their timing. Their chapter cannot tell you what God is writing in yours. You do not have to become jealous of another person's harvest when you are still in the season of planting. Be faithful where you are. Be grateful for what you have, and trust God with what is coming. There is no need to rush the miracle. A flower does not become more beautiful because you pull on its petals. Some things require time. Some blessings require preparation. Some answers require maturity. Some doors open only when you are ready to walk through them. So let God prepare you while you wait. And while you wait, live, love, serve, pray, learn, grow, smile, forgive, create, rest, give thanks. Do not put your entire life on hold while waiting for one answer. The blessing may be unfolding while you are living the life you already have. This Tuesday morning, lift your head. There is more ahead than what you can currently see. Do not let yesterday's disappointment convince you that tomorrow has nothing beautiful to offer. Do not let one closed door make you believe every door is closed. Do not let one rejection make you believe you are rejected by life. Do not let one delay make you believe God has forgotten you. There are blessings you have not seen yet. There are possibilities you have not imagined. There are moments that will make you say, "Now I understand why I had to wait." And until that moment comes, keep walking, keep praying, keep your heart open, keep expecting goodness. Not because life is always easy, but because God is still present. And where God is present, hope still has a home. So step into this Tuesday with expectation. Expect peace where you thought there would be anxiety. Expect strength where you thought you would be weak. Expect wisdom where you thought you would be confused. Expect grace where you thought you had exhausted your supply. Expect a door where you thought there was only a wall. Expect a new beginning where you thought the story had ended. And when the blessing arrives, do not forget to say thank you. Thank God for the obvious blessing. Thank Him for the hidden blessing. Thank Him for the blessing you recognized immediately. Thank Him for the blessing you understood only later. And even thank Him for the closed doors that protected you from places you were never meant to remain. This morning, your prayer can be simple. Jesus, prepare my heart for what you are doing. Help me recognize your goodness. Keep me from becoming so focused on what I lack that I fail to see what you have already placed in my hands. Give me eyes to recognize unexpected blessings and a heart humble enough to receive them. Then walk into your day. Walk with expectation. Walk with gratitude. Walk with faith. You do not know what this Tuesday will bring. And that is exactly why you should leave room for wonder. Something beautiful may be waiting around the corner. A blessing may be moving quietly toward you. A door may be opening where you were not looking. And even if the blessing does not arrive in the form you expected, remember this: God's goodness is not limited by your imagination. So keep your heart open, keep your faith alive, keep walking, and let God surprise you.